Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, to this very important session this afternoon, and a very exciting one. This is the formal inauguration of the film festival that we are having over the next 3 days. My name is Ravi Karmalker. I just have a small cameo, as I say, right at the beginning, just to introduce this session, and then I will introduce Anupama Kapoor, who will be actually moderating the session. We have three amazing personalities with us here today who are going to be, actually participating in a very interesting discussion as a formal opening of the film festival. We have with us Mr. Chaitanya Prasad, who is the officer on special duty with the Information and Broadcasting Ministry of the Government of India, and he's going to be our keynote speaker for this afternoon. We also have with us Ravi Karmalker. He's an award-winning documentary filmmaker from Germany, but who's also been doing amazing work with African cinema through Kenya. And he's going to be showcasing some of his work in this festival. We'd love to hear from him. And along with him, we have very acclaimed young filmmaker from India, he actually straddles both worlds, commercial as well as meaningful, thoughtful cinema. Raja Krishna Menon, who I think is no stranger. After Airlift, I think the country absolutely knows Raja Menon. So we got three different perspectives, and I will leave it to Anupama to actually tell us more about these fascinating personalities as we flag open this film festival. But before that, because our fourth celebrity today is Anupama Kapoor herself. And it would be remiss of me if I don't introduce her. So let me just quickly introduce Anupama. And Anupama is a passionate exponent of equity and inclusion and a social entrepreneur with an endeavor to create equitable and inclusive workplaces and society. Anupama leads Reboot, an equity and inclusion strategist firm that consults with organizations in formulating and executing the diversity and inclusiveness strategy in sync with their values and vision across all segments of diversity. A fervent champion for women's economic empowerment and a women's workforce participation SME, Anupama is also the founder of Reboot Her, a community of returning women professionals with a stated goal of equipping them for sustainable and thriving careers. And she actually, she is a specialist. She's a global equity and inclusion professional at Reboot. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Anupama. Anupama, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Naresh. Welcome everyone to this suddenly hot Mumbai afternoon, if you're logging in from Mumbai. Ravi, do share with us later how the weather is at your end. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you to this wonderful, wonderful RISE World Summit and to the inauguration of the film festival, where a lot of you are showcasing your films and your good work. I'll start by introducing the speakers today. Mr. Chaitanya Prasad, who is with the Government of India in the Information and Broadcast Ministry. He's an officer on special duty and also a public policy maker, also associated with film festivals and Doordarshan News India and Doordarshan India both. Welcome, Mr. Prasad. We look forward to your inputs for this session. We also have with us Mr. Ravi Karmalker, who's an acclaimed Indo-German writer, director, and producer. He's straddled, I think, across the entire media spectrum, from radio to journalism to TV and films as well. As I was reading your biography, I read that you were associated with Germany's largest public broadcaster, I think it's WDR, where you've made over 1,000 features. My God, that's amazing. That straddle across the different arts. You've also been associated with TV, the largest TV association, TV station in Germany, and also you worked on more than 250 films. That's an amazing journey, and we really look forward to hearing from your industry experience. I also welcome Mr. Raja Menon, an acclaimed, more mainstream filmmaker in this audience, in this group today. You've started your career with TV commercials, and you have moved and you worked also in the Bollywood feature film space. So your inputs will be precious because you yourself, I understand, are an activist or you have some background in activism, and I'm sure you bring that into the work you do every day. So welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
My pleasure to have you all here. You know
Pleasure
what
to be.
we'll
Thank you.
do? Yeah. So we'll start by inviting you for your keynote address, Mr. Prasad.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I think it's an honor and privilege to be in this audience because coming in as a festival director and facilitator for films and filmmaking from the point of view of government, I think in the company of such august filmmakers, I think there is a learning curve every day for people like us because we get to the problem, get to the issue, and then take the narrative forward. And cinema is something that creativity cannot be stopped, and it goes on. And as a policymaker for the government, and especially with regard to cinema, our job is to make sure that all the nuts and bolts fall in place. Now, as far as cinema is concerned, and as far as the government facilitation process, etc., is concerned, all I can say is that our endeavor always has been to capture new narratives as far as cinema is concerned, because there's a lot happening and different formats of cinema coming in, different forms of content coming in, different forms of outreach mechanisms coming in, a lot of creativity flowing in from different verticals as far as cinema is concerned. So it is not kind of a very strict straight jacket kind of a phenomenon which stays. And as far as we are concerned, as far as the Directorate of Film Festivals, which I head, I think it's a single honor for us to facilitate the movement of cinema, to facilitate the movement of different narratives as far as this creative platform is concerned. But the important thing is that there has to be a kind of a, what would I say, a jugalbandi between storytelling, between stories, between narratives, between creative art, as far as technology is concerned, in terms of outreach, as far as content. And why do I say so? That's my limited experience of being a festival director for 4 editions as far as the International Film Festival of India is concerned. And every edition that I have done, many of you may have had, I would say, the good fortune of attending it, participating in it, and seeing for yourself as to how this platform has evolved over a period of time. You see, the reason why I say this very honestly and very frankly is there is this splurge as far as technology is concerned. How do you merge it with creativity? How do you weave in content? How do you address audience taste? And most importantly, what I personally feel is the kind of the business model that comes into play. So all these aspects are the new contours of the architecture as far as cinema is concerned. As far as we are concerned, in terms of the government and as far as the Directorate of Film Festivals, every edition of IFFI from 2018, 19, 20, and the last edition that we had in November 21, what we have learned, what we have tried to adapt is the kind of innovation that you put in to make sure that cinema is a medium of joy, it is a medium of excitement, it is a medium of celebration. Now, why do I say that? Not to take it too far, I must say to this August audience today, is that we were the first in the world, and we take a lot of pride in that, during the unfortunate times of COVID, both in 2020 as well as in 2021, we were the first festival in the world to push through a festival in both physical and in virtual form. IFFI was the only hybrid festival. We did the first edition of the hybrid festival in January 2021 because it was postponed from November 20, and we did the last edition in November 2021. So in 1 year, we did 2 editions hybrid. So that was something which gives us a lot of pride. It gives us a lot of satisfaction. What is also important is in the last edition of IFFI, what we did was to address and mainstream a cross-section of cinema which is gaining a lot of weight as far as the global scenario is concerned, as far as India is concerned. And what was that? First time in the history of the International Film Festival, we got OTT partners to come on. We realized that OTT is a major force for creative instincts, for creative filmmakers to present. And COVID was the right, unfortunately, the right, what avenue you may call it, the right opportunity. So we got the Netflix and the Amazons and the Z5s and the Viacoms, everyone to participate. So that was one big plus that we did, and we learned a lot of that. And there was a lot of enthusiasm. So as I said earlier, there was this perfect blend between the old form and the new form. And let me tell you, we introduced it for the first time in January 2021, and it was a big leap forward as far as November 2021 was concerned. And that has now come to stay. This partnership with all forms of cinema is going to stay. That is one. The second thing was the kind of participation which we saw from the global film fraternity. We had roughly 600 or 700 odd films that sent in their entries, and the kind of kaleidoscope that we put together, the kind of bouquet of films that we put together from across the world, right? For us, the big plus in terms of acceptability of the platform, acceptability of the force of IFFI was the first time Lifetime Achievement Award, Martin Scorsese and Mr. Zabo. Two esteemed filmmakers coming on and acknowledging the International Film Festival of India. Why I say this is, it was an acknowledgement of how Indian cinema has moved, acknowledgement of how acceptance of India's soft power or India's, what should I say, prowess as far as the international filmmaking community was concerned. One more thing, not to waste time for all other people, was we have a segment within the Indian, within IFFI, is the Indian Panorama. I'm sure many of you are aware of what Indian Panorama is. We get feature films from across languages and regions in India. The kind of diversity of Indian languages that was showcased as a reflection of India's regional threats as far as cinema was concerned, that was showcased to the world. Unknown languages, unknown directors, first-time directors, debut directors, they were given an opportunity and they were applauded all over. Finally, one more platform that has excelled over the years, which I'm sure my esteemed film colleagues here would know better than me, because I am the person who drives it, but they know what it means for a filmmaker, was the National Film Awards. The different verticals or the genres that come under the National Film Awards, both for feature as well as non-feature. That kind of thrust, the catalyst that it evolves over a period of time to get people to associate with the National Film Award. And when they get an award from the National Film, that category, the kind of joy, the kind of satisfaction they get is just unbelievable. Why I put these examples is I wanted to just give a perspective as to how this, architecture of film promotion, film thrust as far as the government is concerned. And the rest is definitely there, how we are trying to get more people to come and shoot in India, India as a shooting destination. All that is very much there. So sum and substance, before I end, ladies and gentlemen, is that the government is here to facilitate the growth, the movement of cinema in the country. The government's job, responsibility, the idea is to push and make sure that the filmmakers in this country are able to do what they want to do. We give them the platforms, we give them the avenues, and we give them the opportunity to do things the way they want, so that they are able to get that perfect blend of creativity, excellence, and a sense of satisfaction, right? Thank you very much. I hope we'll take it from what others say. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prasad. It was very interesting what you shared. There is no doubt that thanks to COVID, the way we work has been totally disrupted, and for everybody across all sectors. The classic example is even the Rise World Summit, where over the 3 days that we have 2,400 participants, and so many countries participating, so many people, so many issues have been tabled, will be tabled, because the fact that now we are taking and adapting so much faster to technology. That's just with things in front of us and those that are not. I missed introducing the fourth speaker, who's actually not in the session today, Jonathan Kennedy. He's the Director of Arts at the British Council. Just bear with me a moment and I will share more about him. As I said, he is the director of arts at the British Council, and he's responsible for developing the national strategy, managing stakeholder relationships across government and the creative industries, and conceptualizing programs to promote and strengthen the India-UK cultural relations through collaboration, connections, and creative partnerships. Jonathan has substantial experience in theatre himself, producing, arts management, and international cultural exchange. I think this is a good point, Ashwini, for you to also share with us through Jonathan's link more about the films that the British Council is screening in the festival.
Sure. Welcome to the delegates at the RISE World Summit 2022. I'm Jonathan Kennedy, the Director of Arts India at the British Council, and I'm delighted to present an exciting collection of contemporary documentaries by some fabulous young filmmakers from the UK. The 4 films are from the British Council's collection, Uncertain Kingdom, and they run around 45 minutes altogether. The first film, What's in a Name, explores cultural heritage and names. The contributors discuss what their name means to them, obstacles to those with non-Western names, and celebrates how their names express who they are. Strong is Better Than Angry is a powerful documentary about a strong female kickboxer, head spinning and speaking out about the young, modern female experience in the UK. The third film, The Conversation, throws light on an interracial relationship. It's a dance film about the moment when a black man has the conversation with his white partner about his experience. The final film, Motherland, is a documentary about the challenges of citizenship, the Windrush generation who migrated from the Caribbean to the UK in the 1940s, and the more recent experience of Jamaican-born Brits in the UK. I hope you enjoy all of these powerful films. Also at the RISE World Summit this year, British Council Research and Resources on the platform provide insight into different aspects of the creative economy and our work in India and the UK. There are some really engaging music festival podcasts from Chennai, Wales and Northern Ireland, and some useful best practice guides for disability arts and festivals, and some really amazing artistic responses to the global challenges posed by climate change, all on the RISE World Summit platform. Colleagues from British Council will also be speaking on the roundtable on diversity-driven innovation today, where we will discuss how British Council and the arts and culture sectors have responded to challenges faced by creative industries before and during COVID-19. So thank you for joining British Council at this most impressive RISE World Summit. Hope you have a good time. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that, Jonathan. And for those who are interested, the British Council films are screening today at the festival. So you have to go to the social tab to be able to access the links to the film. Ashwini, maybe you can share more on that at the end of the session. So moving on, Ravi, I'd like to ask you something. And since the British Council has just shared what they are bringing to the festival, would you kindly share with us what does what is the bouquet of films that you're bringing? I know you're working with some African directors on these films. I understand that you're covering a lot about behavioral change through films tomorrow, but do share a little bit about the films that you bring.
Yeah, thank you, Anupama. I hope you can hear me well, because I can't hear you very properly, but still I think I have understood everything. And also thank you to everybody at RISE World Summit for setting up this summit. I find this is an unbelievable program you're setting up, and I'm very thankful to be part of it. Yes, I'm working in Kenya now for 4 years, and 4.5 years here with African filmmakers. And meanwhile, I'm very aware of the issues East African filmmakers are confronted with. So that's something I would like to discuss tomorrow in one of the panels. And so I've contributed 3 films of maybe one of the most amazing filmmakers in Kenya. So one is Get to Heaven, so it's about surviving in slums. The other one is called Maria. It's about, first of all, women in politics and how hard it is to survive as a woman in politics here in Kenya. And last not least, we have Nairobi Half-Life, which was one of the biggest success in Kenya and also on an international level, which tells the story of a lot of people coming to Nairobi, hoping for money and happiness, but end up in with some gangsters and so on. So it's a tragic comedy, and it's quite nice also to watch the heroes of how they try to come out of this. So I think these are 3 good examples of filmmakers trying to make the best out of the situation here in Kenya and East Africa, because the industry is quite broke. It's absolutely not comparable to the industry in the US, in Europe, in Asia, first of all, India, Australia, New Zealand. And that's also my topic tomorrow. I would like to discuss this with the filmmakers or the directors of those films mentioned before. And so this is quite interesting. So there is a yearning for to connect to the international market, which is really developing well. But in sub-Saharan Africa, the most of the countries, except of South America, don't have access to this booming market, which we are just watching now. So this is something. So to make it short, the African filmmakers want to be part of the golden era of TV, of TV and film market, but still they are not. So the question would be also what to achieve. So I think there's something we can contribute here. And yes, behavioral change is a second topic. Because I started with behavior change projects also in 2017-18, and we have set up some of them and are producing right now also behavior change fiction production here in Kenya. So this is also something to discuss, because I think as development is very much, or the whole development industry or department is very much about behavior change. Behavior change fiction is a very, very powerful tool to implement changes and also to influence people out there in a positive and a very democratic way. So I would like also to discuss this in a second panel tomorrow. So let me sum it up. There's it's not all depression over here in Kenya right now, because we were able to set up a development project together with the German Ministry of Development and Collaboration, which now after 4 years turned out to be the first high-end TV series of Kenya, co-produced with Netflix and with a German broadcaster called ZDF Arte. It's a German-French broadcaster. So things are moving here, and so therefore it's a mixture. You might also hear from the African filmmakers who are stepping in tomorrow. It's a mixture of also great hope that things are going to change, and that Kenya, East Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa can connect to the international film market. So it's quite an interesting time over here, where things are starting to break up. So that's it from my side, first of all, and maybe you allow me to go into the details tomorrow when we have panels with everybody. So that's from my side. Sorry for my bad English. It's I was educated in German, but I'll try my best. Anyway, so yeah, I'm thankful.
Thank you so much for sharing. So, what you shared also spurs a lot of questions in my mind, and that's the kind of framework, I would like to ask you more about Mr. Menon. The thing is that we talk a lot about behavioral change, and that is also something Ravi has been working extensively on. You, with your background of activism, and having worked in TV commercials and also worked with feature films, do you think that films are a great medium for behavioral change? Do you think we do enough of that in India today? And do we measure that, the impact of
Thanks for having me here, first of all. I mean, I really feel this is a way too august company for me to be here talking about commercial cinema, but, I'll try and answer some of those questions. Well, I think that commercial cinema, and when I say commercial cinema, it's very difficult to define what that is. But just in terms of reach and in terms of what it does, it's immeasurable in terms of the impact. Because I think that it influences in a way that it influences behavior in a way that people don't feel they're being spoken to. So largely people get involved and then they begin to see something from in a story form. Someone said earlier the importance of story and fiction. And what they take away from it is subliminal, but I think that's probably the most important change. And I think that also because in commercial cinema, and especially where we are right now, we're largely looking at conflict, which is our the most important aspect of storytelling when it comes to commercial cinema. There's a lot that can be done there. Do we do a lot? I think we're doing more than we've ever done before, but there's a lot to be done yet. And I think that comes from all the stakeholders coming together and the kind of stories that we want to tell. I think the old days of commercial cinema being just the song and dance routine is slowly going away. And I think there is an audience now, especially interestingly enough to me, because of the entire COVID lockdown, I think there's an exposure to far more interesting storytelling. And I think the audience is beginning in India to ask for that, more substance, more real situations that they're faced with, of course, in the context of fiction and storytelling and escapism and everything else. I don't think any of those things need to go away. You can still have a song and dance, it doesn't matter, but and entertain people. And I think when you entertain someone, what they take away is probably stronger than talking to somebody and explaining things in another format. Those formats are important too. Is it measurable? I don't think it's actually measurable from that aspect, because that's not the primary goal of commercial cinema, so cinema will always be measured from the number of tickets they sell. But that may be one way of looking at it, because I think just the more people who see this, the more they're impacted with it, the more they see their heroes and their the people they look up to in situations dealing with things in a certain way, it can lead to positive change. So I think, in my opinion, it's one of the strongest mediums, underused at this point. But I think more and more people are beginning to see the coming out with stronger opinions, younger filmmakers, and a whole bunch of people who want to kind of put their progressive points of view forward. So I think as a medium, yeah, we are moving in the right direction.
Anupama, you're on mute again.
Yeah, Mr. Karmalker, you had shared a few days ago when you were speaking about how the OTT platform has not been able to make inroads into East African space and the space that you're working on films, as it has in the West, as it has maybe in even Southeast Asia, and now even India. I also want to ask Mr. Prasad this. What do you think is the role that OTT can play and films can play in terms of behavioral change from a public policy standpoint, how do you think this combination can work together?
I think you see, from a policy standpoint and behavior change, you see what people see, they believe. I was fortunate enough to be associated with the Pulse Polio program when, at the time in 2004 to 2003 to 2008, do booms in the game. So I happened to steer that ship on behalf of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, where I was on a special assignment, and I was fortunate enough to see the Big B play that role all through as to how you take behavior change communication forward. And that was the time, mind you, when the story of Pulse Polio was going up and down. The question of cases rising in certain pockets. So how did you modulate the message and the medium through the person who was doing it, right? What kind of messaging, what kind of, I would say, content that we were putting in through obviously a celebrity. So how was that change brought about? You see, that was one aspect, and obviously at the ground level, it had to be done. I just said that because that is something which we can correlate very easily. Even now, when you talk about COVID, and people are referring to it because unfortunately, all of us have gone through it in the last 2 years, and many of us would have been afflicted with it. And I'm sure we've had a harrowing time. But the point is in the communication, because in the government, the whole, the process of COVID appropriate behavior. You see, it looks very jargonistic, COVID appropriate behavior to a common man on the street. He won't understand anything, right? It's very difficult. So the whole idea of community participation, etc., is very important in that. As far as OTT is concerned, because that is now an alternative medium that is available to people, right? And people are, I won't say latching onto it. It's become a part of their lives. Work from home, period of, sustained lockdowns, etc. And as Mr. Menon was saying, this was an opportunity, and so was Mr. Karmalker talking about an opportunity given for creative juices to come out. So a film which talks about behavior, change communication, a film or a script which, pushes this whole idea forward, and to look at it from an OTT perspective and to watch that at home, in the cool comforts of a home. You see, that is the best thing that can happen. You're not forced to watch it. You can stop it if you want. The impact, I personally feel, is much larger, and it's much more potent, And one example I would give is because we do promote cinema with a social cause, etc. And a lot of films have won it. In case of Batman, for example, I'm not trying to promote Batman, etc. But how did that whole story go forward? You see, as a feature film, see. And there have been many films on the OTT platform which have talked about a social cause and talked about the idea of behavior change. And it has to be done because you no longer can ignore OTT. And that is a realization that has come across board. They are not the, you can't keep them out. They have to be there as one of the key central players. They have a responsibility. And from a public policy, it is also our responsibility to integrate.
Right, absolutely. Thank you so much for your insights there, Mr. Prasad. Question from Sandeep Narwani. And he's asking if there is a support fund for making behavioral change documentaries in India. Anyone? Maybe Mr. Prasad, you could take that.
Thank you very much for the question. I think the gentleman concerned should look at the website of Films Division. I mean, because he's asked a very particular question, it would be incorrect to give the wrong information. Films Division, which is one of the media units of the Ministry of Information Broadcasting. Now we are going into this kind of integration of all film units under the National Film Development Corporation. They do invite proposals to get documentary films or other even commercial film cinema, small documentary, the small documentary, the duration is there. There is a seed money which is given, that is one. Two is if you are able to get funding somewhere, from some source, I would encourage the young gentleman to apply and seek try his luck at the National Film Awards, because in the non-feature section we have several category of awards, which is a stepping stone for many filmmakers. Many filmmakers have begun their journey by participating at the National Film Awards, both for feature as well as for the non-feature film section. Non-feature section more so because it is divided into different subjects. It could be social cause, it could be climate change, it could be anything under this, culture, tourism. There are a lot of subjects that are covered. So the gentleman can just have a look at it and apply. There is a procedure to it. There's no reason why he would not get a funding from a good proposal. Yeah.
Great.
Anupama, if I may interject with a question, because I can't access the Q&A for some reason.
Sure.
Mr. Prasad, just a follow-up question to what Sandeep asked you. If you see the films that are being exhibited during this Rise Film Festival, both from British Council as well as what Ravi has gotten from the Kenyan filmmakers, they're all under 1 hour. In fact, the British films are like, I think, hardly 15 or 20 minutes. And I guess, this is what you're talking about in terms of the films division. And my question is actually, the outreach. Today, I think on certain OTT platforms, you do have segments for short films. But is there any kind of thinking on the government's part to make, to give a mainstream outlet to the earlier we used to have the films division newsreel? I know a long time ago, it has given up ages ago. But is there a kind of thinking on the part of the government where these short films can actually get a mainstream release in theaters along with feature films? If you could enlighten.
You see, the government has always been very supportive of the documentary filmmaking segment as far as creativity is concerned. And one aspect of it is a reflection during the National Film Awards where I talk about the non-feature section, right? So that is something that you must look into, because there are so many awards, there are so many category of awards. So that is one push factor that is very much there, you see. Then you have the documentary film festivals, which are organized once in 2 years. Today, it has just turned around. Max is about 2 hours, 10 minutes. The moment it stretches more than that, you start feeling very fidgety in the hall, if at all you watch it in a hall. So the whole culture of viewing has gone away. And let me tell you one thing, there are so many avenues available to young filmmakers today for documentaries. You put it on YouTube. I mean, there are several sources available. So it's not just a commercial release, and word of mouth is your biggest weapon. If you've made something very well and which is very relevant today, the word of mouth, just goes ahead, and support, just grows for that gentleman or that filmmaker, right? On any subject for that matter. So I personally feel that the government is very much glued to it. One thing which was made a request, there was I wouldn't say a demand, there was it's a call that there should be a documentary segment within IFFI. In the non-feature category, in the Indian panorama, we have 2 segments. 20 odd films are featured in the non-feature category. There, a lot of filmmakers in that prescribed format that you're mentioning, the duration, they do apply, and their films are screened. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it's screened along with the feature film. And the same importance and acknowledgement is done. So it's a big moment for them. Can I tell you with my first, sorry, I overshot. I think I overshot out of sheer enthusiasm.
No, that's all right. So thank you so much. I'm sure the budding, aspiring filmmakers in the audience will find these inputs useful. Thank you from Sandeep Narwani too. A big thanks to our speakers today.
Thank you so much, Anupama, and thank you to all our 3 dignitaries. I think it was a fascinating discussion. Of course, there's so many facets of filmmaking that we could cover, but we need much more time for that. And thank you, Mr. Prasad, for making it today. I think I think the government's support to filmmaking is pretty evident, and I think it's been improving over the years. And it's nice to have somebody like you who seems to be absolutely a believer in all kinds of filmmaking and providing a platform. Raja and Ravi, thank you so much for your inputs. I would really, love to know more about how you, what goes into making of your films. And I know, Raja, you've been an activist for a very long time. What goes into you and in the films you make, your stories you choose, etc. Ravi, of course, you have spanned a whole diverse range of, filmmaking.